Portlock was cursed and Bigfoot's place and nobody goes there.
Overnight, everybody left. But then people started to disappear, just gone.
A town abandoned in fear, haunted by a creature of myth. Could something still be lurking in the mist?
People in Alert Bay say they've been hearing strange screams and howls from the forest at night, and the legend of the Sasquatch runs deep in their First Nations culture.
What if the stories of Portlock, Alaska are more than just legends? Visitors claim to hear strange noises and feel an eerie presence. Is it the work of Bigfoot or something far darker? What really happened in Portlock? The mysterious beginnings of Portlock. Portlock, Alaska is one of the most chilling ghost towns in the state, with a dark and mysterious past that still haunts the area today. Located at the southern tip of the Kenai Peninsula, Portlock was once a thriving fishing village. But by 1950, the entire town was mysteriously abandoned. The question is, what made everyone flee? The story of Portlock is enough to make anyone think twice about visiting. Portlock wasn't always a ghost town. In fact, the city was founded long before it vanished. The area was first settled in the 1780s when Captain Nathaniel Portlock of the Royal British Navy arrived. The land was beautiful and filled with resources, especially fish, making it an ideal spot for a community to grow. For over a century, the village of Portlock flourished. It was a peaceful, close-knit community of Aleut people and settlers working in the fish cannery and surrounding industries. But beneath the surface, something sinister was lurking. In the early 1900s, strange events began to occur. In 1905, reports surfaced about workers at the local cannery mysteriously abandoning their jobs. They didn't provide any explanations, but everyone knew something was wrong. People began hearing strange noises at night and noticing unsettling signs that something or someone was watching them. In some cases, they would see large, unexplained tracks along the beach. But the most disturbing reports came from a local worker who claimed to have seen a massive, hairy creature destroying the fish wheels along the shore. The creature, described as a large, human-like figure, stared at him before disappearing into the trees. Could it have been Bigfoot? The sightings continued. As time passed, strange events became more frequent. Bodies were discovered in nearby lagoons, and many had bizarre wounds. Wounds that couldn't have been made by a bear or any known animal. In fact, the injuries looked as if they had been caused by something much larger and more dangerous. Fear quickly spread throughout the town. Some began to whisper that the area was cursed, while others claimed that something supernatural was lurking in the woods. Tensions in the community grew as people struggled to explain the horrors they were facing. As the years went by, people began to disappear. The attacks and mysterious deaths became too much to ignore. It's said that many villagers left in the middle of the night, never to return. The town became known for its terrifying reputation, and whispers of Bigfoot sightings and strange creatures began to dominate conversations. The town was no longer a place of hope or prosperity. It was a place of fear. People abandoned their homes, their businesses, and their lives, all to escape whatever was tormenting them. By 1950, the last residents of Portlock left. The post office closed, and the final person to leave the town was the postmaster. No one could bear to stay in a place so filled with fear. After years of disappearances, hauntings, and unexplained murders, even the toughest of Alaskans couldn't continue living there. What was happening in Portlock? Was it truly a curse or something more terrifying? Some locals still claim that Bigfoot or some other unknown creature was behind the disappearances. No one knows for sure, but what we do know is that fear consumed the town until it was nothing but a shell of its former self. Strange encounters still happen. In the 1970s, a group of fishermen took refuge in Portlock during a storm. While camped out, they reported seeing something unusual, something walking on two legs, moving through the camp. It wasn't human. The fishermen were terrified and quickly fled the area, never to return. The strange sightings continued for decades, leading some to believe that the area is still haunted by whatever force drove the people of Portlock away. So was it Bigfoot? Some locals believe the entire town was stalked by this legendary creature who preyed on the villagers. Many accounts describe seeing a large ape-like creature with glowing eyes lurking in the woods or along the shoreline. The creature was said to be incredibly strong and capable of causing death and destruction. Could it have been Bigfoot or something even darker? No one really knows, but the eerie reports persist to this day. Despite being largely forgotten by the world, the town is still a place of mystery and fear. Visitors who are brave enough to explore the abandoned town are often unnerved by the quiet, the strange noises, and the overwhelming sense that something is watching them. Many feel a chill in the air, a presence they can't explain. Some claim to have heard footsteps behind them only to turn around and find no one there. Others report strange, unexplainable feelings of dread that seem to hang over the area like a cloud. As time passed by, the chilling events in Portlock only grew more intense, with eerie encounters that continue to haunt those who dare to visit. From strange sightings to unsettling noises, the abandoned town still holds a dark grip on the imagination. Could the stories of Bigfoot be true, or is there something even more sinister lurking in the shadows? Unsettling encounters. If you ask the locals what really drove the residents of Portlock away, they'll mention one name: Nantinak. But Nantinak is no friendly woodland creature. In local folklore, it's a terrifying Bigfoot-like figure that's said to have haunted the area for generations. Unlike the Sasquatch legends you might hear in the Pacific Northwest, Nantinak wasn't just spotted once in a while. This creature was believed to be responsible for many of the mysterious disappearances in the area. Witnesses describe seeing something large, covered in thick hair, stalking the edges of the forest. It wasn't just an eerie sight, it was aggressive, often creating terrifying encounters with those who crossed its path. Its frightening presence became a part of Alaskan legend, and the stories of its behavior were enough to make anyone think twice about venturing into those woods. Some even say that the spirits of the people who disappeared are still trapped in the wilderness, as if they're lost in the very same forest where they met their tragic end, wandering endlessly. But is Nantinak real, or just a myth? While some brush it off as folklore, the eerie circumstances that led to Portlock's abandonment suggest there could be more to the story. The town didn't just gradually fade away over time, it seemed to vanish overnight. One day the people were there, and the next they were gone. Residents started leaving in a panic, some packing up their homes and belongings, unable to stay any longer in the face of an unknown threat lurking just beyond the trees. It wasn't just one or two families that left. It was the entire town. People took what they could and abandoned everything else. There are even stories that families fled under the cover of darkness, desperate to escape whatever had been haunting them. In some cases, people didn't just leave their homes, they fled by boat, too afraid to spend another night in Portlock. What they left behind was an empty town, decaying buildings, and a sense of dread that still felt today. The cannery rusted away, and the homes stood abandoned, with no explanation as to why. Could Nantinak be the reason for the mass exodus from Portlock? The fact that an entire town disappeared so suddenly and mysteriously makes the legend of the creature seem a little harder to dismiss. Maybe the people of Portlock weren't just scared. They were running for their lives, trying to escape something far more terrifying than anyone could explain. Nantinak isn't the only creature of its kind. Similar legends appear in other cultures around the world where large ape-like creatures are said to haunt forests and mountains. The legends of creatures like the Yeti in the Himalayas, the skunk ape in Florida, and Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest all share similarities with the Nantinak myth. In many of these stories, the creatures are often tied to the land, with local communities living in fear of their unpredictable and aggressive behavior. Like those creatures, Nantinak seems to have become more than just a tale. It represents a deep, primal fear of the unknown. It's the kind of fear that drives people to leave everything behind, not knowing what's lurking in the shadows. Is Nantinak a product of folklore, or is there something more to the story of Portlock's abandonment? The town's eerie history, combined with the terrifying reports of this creature, makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, there's truth hidden in the legends. Whatever the case may be, the fear surrounding Portlock is real, and the mystery of the Nantinak still lingers in the woods, waiting to be uncovered. The Alou community. The misty forests of the Pacific Northwest are known for their eerie beauty, but they also hide some chilling stories. In 1921, the Alou people decided to ignore the warnings of their ancestors, the Suak, and settled in the heart of this wild land. Despite the dark stories surrounding the area, they built a thriving community, hopeful for a new beginning. But something darker was at play. The forest was home to something far more powerful and dangerous than they realized. To survive, the Alou imposed strict rules. A curfew was set at night, armed guards kept watch, and venturing into the foggy woods was strictly forbidden. These weren't superstitions, but lessons learned from the land's brutal history. Still, not everyone respected the rules. In 1931, tragedy struck. Andrew Clock, a logger, ventured deep into the forbidden forest. Despite the warnings, he disappeared without a trace. A search party later found his mutilated body, leaving no doubt about the creature that lurked in the woods. This gruesome discovery sent shockwaves through the town, filling the people with a deep fear that would never leave them. The terror didn't end there. Tom Larson, another resident, had his own encounter with the creature. One night, while walking along the beach, he saw a massive hairy figure standing upright. Despite having a rifle in hand, Larson was frozen in fear and couldn't bring himself to shoot. The creature's sheer size and power left him paralyzed. The growing fear and the constant threat of the creature drove the Alou to abandon their town in 1950. Portlock became a ghost town, its buildings swallowed by the relentless forest. The town's tragic history remained, buried under layers of moss and trees as whispers of its past drifted through the fog. To understand why Portlock was abandoned, we need to look closely at the lives of the Alou people, their encounter with Bigfoot, and the chilling events that led to their flight. The Alou, who had a deep respect for the land, knew that they were intruding on a place full of dangers, as their ancestors had warned. But they were determined to carve out a life in the wilderness. Andrew Clock, driven by ambition, paid a terrible price for breaking the rules. His death was a harsh reminder of the power of the creature in the woods. His mutilated body was found as evidence of the creature's wrath, a warning to anyone who dared to ignore the danger lurking in the shadows. Tom Larson's sighting of the creature marked a turning point. The sheer size of the beast, standing tall on the beach, left him too scared to act. Even with a rifle in hand, he couldn't pull the trigger. This moment showed just how overpowering the creature was, a force of nature that couldn't be controlled or understood. The story of Portlock isn't just about a town haunted by a mythical creature, it's a warning about the balance between humans and the natural world. Alou's story shows what can happen when we disregard the warnings of those who came before us and the harsh consequences of thinking we can conquer the wilderness. The town's abandonment in 1950 was the end of an era. Once a symbol of hope, Portlock was now a ghostly reminder of humanity's limits in the face of nature's mysteries. The creature, whatever it was the true victor, reclaiming the land that had once belonged to the Alou. The town's ruins remain, swallowed by the very forest that the Alou had once feared. Is Bigfoot real or just a myth? Could there be a creature out there still hiding in the misty forests? The terrifying events that drove the Alou people to abandon Portlock in 1950 are far from forgotten. Could the creature still be roaming the woods of the eerie forest, or has it found refuge somewhere else? Modern-day encounters. Today, Portlock remains one of Alaska's most eerie abandoned places. While the town itself has long been swallowed by the forest, its dark reputation still draws people in, especially those with a taste for the mysterious and the unexplained. However, this isn't the only location haunted by these eerie monsters. From Utah's snowy peaks to the forests of Colorado, modern-day encounters with Sasquatch are fueling the fire of this cryptid legend. Earlier this year in February, the snow-blanketed Wasatch Mountains of Utah became the stage for one of these chilling encounters. Imagine this, 90 inches of snow, taller than most people, and something is walking through it. Not stumbling, not struggling, just moving. Smoothly, steadily, like a ghost gliding over powder. Two people caught it on video, stunned by the way this figure managed the deep snow with ease. A few days later, a pilot flying over Francis Peak spotted and recorded long, single-file tracks stretching across the mountainside. No human, they believe, could pull off such a feat in those conditions. But here's where it gets even more bizarre. The footprints didn't match any known animals. So if it wasn't a person, and it wasn't a bear, what was it? Fast forward to October, and we're in the rugged wilderness of Colorado. A couple, Shannon Parker and her husband, were enjoying a scenic train ride when something caught their eye. A tall, dark figure was striding through the hills, its movements strangely graceful for its massive size. The figure stopped, looked around, then crouched down as if it knew it was being watched and didn't want to be seen. Shannon grabbed her phone and filmed it. When she shared the footage online, the internet exploded. Some laughed it off as a prankster in a furry suit, but others, they saw something that didn't move, bend, or behave like any person pretending to be Bigfoot. Skeptics always have a theory, tricks of light, costumes, bears, walking funny, but more and more of these explanations just don't quite fit. Take the footprints, for example. Not the giant fake ones you see in movies, but detailed casts taken from remote sites. One former police forensic analyst, Jimmy Chilcutt, who specialized in studying fingerprint patterns, examined several of these casts. He found dermal ridges, like fingerprints but on feet, that ran lengthwise unlike human prints. The skin seemed to be thicker, the texture rougher. It was like nothing he'd ever seen before, and it convinced him that at least some of these prints were the real deal. So if the footprints are real, what made them? Some experts, like anatomy professor Jeff Meldrum, believe we already have part of the answer. In Washington state, researchers created the Skookum cast, an impression believed to show not just a foot, but a heel, a thigh, and even part of a forearm. The proportions? 40 to 50% bigger than a human's. If that's a hoax, it's one for the history books. Then there's Alaska. Vast, wild, and filled with stories that could send chills down your spine. On Prince of Wales Island, locals still whisper about eerie encounters. Hikers report being followed by something unseen, hearing rocks being thrown and feeling a deep bone-chilling dread as if eyes are on them from the shadows. Sometimes they hear strange knocking sounds like something is signaling through the trees. The remoteness of these areas means whatever's out there has miles and miles of untouched wilderness to hide in. Perfect for something or someone who doesn't want to be found. These stories are more than just isolated incidents. Or BFRO track thousands of encounters, patterns forming like pieces of a puzzle. And it's not just thrill seekers or cryptid hunters filing these reports. We're talking about experienced outdoorsmen, police officers, park rangers, people who know the difference between a bear and something else. But here's the real question. If Bigfoot is just a myth, why do the stories keep coming? Why do we still see these figures, hear these noises, and find these footprints in the middle of nowhere? Sure, some people want to believe. Maybe it's the thrill of the unknown, the idea that there's still a mystery left in this overexplored world. But for others, those who have seen the shadow move through the trees, who have heard the low, resonant howl echoing in the night, belief isn't a choice. It's an experience they can't shake, a memory that won't let them forget. And maybe that's why the legend of Bigfoot isn't fading, because every now and then something happens. A footprint in the snow, a shadow in the hills, a whisper in the dark, and we're reminded that maybe, just maybe, we're not as alone in these wild places as we think. Portlock's ghostly reputation may have faded for some, but it remains a place of intrigue and mystery. Its haunting past lingers, a chilling reminder of the unexplained. The eerie forests of Alaska still hold secrets, leaving anyone who ventures near wondering if something dark still watches from the shadows. So what do you think? Was Portlock's eerie past just a series of coincidences, or is something still out there in the woods? Do you believe in the existence of Bigfoot? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more eerie stories. Thanks for watching.